Good morning. Let's talk about violinist Isaac Stern today. Why can we be super grateful for Isaac Stern's legacy and what he did for the violin world? Well, the standout event of his life was when Isaac Stern got involved in saving Carnegie Hall from being demolished and redeveloped in the early 60s. Now, Carnegie Hall, of course, was the place where Heifetz had his famous debut in 1917 when he lit the world on fire, so much so that Misha Elman is said to have commented, it's a bit hot in here, and his friend Godowsky, who was sitting next to him, said, not for pianists, mate. That was 1917 when Heifetz took the world by storm at Carnegie Hall, and many other famous players performed there. So when Isaac Stern heard that there were plans for this historic landmark building to be destroyed, he intervened, got involved, and this is what he did. He led a passionate committee to save Carnegie Hall in New York. It was previously earmarked for demolition, as there was an economic incentive to redevelop the site for commercial use. Stern organised a meeting of civic leaders in his home, and a committee was mobilised to raise $100,000. Stern asked dozens of famous musicians to sign a petition to save Carnegie Hall. The hall was saved and refurbished inside and out. It was designated a US landmark a few years later, now to be enjoyed in perpetuity. So that's pretty amazing. I actually went to Carnegie Hall, but I didn't go inside, and I didn't manage to see a performance there. It was just a passing visit, and I saw the building from the outside. My teacher, Ron, also visited Carnegie Hall when he was in New York years ago. I don't think he saw a performance there either, but he did go inside, and he did ask permission to stand on the wooden stage, which amazingly they allowed him to do. So he walked around on the stage. It was a completely empty hall, stood where Heifetz had stood. So we can be eternally grateful then to violinist Isaac Stern for saving Carnegie Hall. Now, he was an amazing violinist, of course, not perhaps a born genius like, say, Heifetz or Menuhin, but definitely in the top tier violinists. Amazing player. Just some brief things to mention about Isaac Stern. He did some great work with young musicians in China, I believe. I think he did like a tour of China. He wouldn't perform in Germany for many years due to the Holocaust. I think maybe he might have eventually softened on that front and eventually perform there, but for many years he would not perform in Germany because of his sadness over the Holocaust. Rumours of links with the Jewish mafia. Now, I haven't really looked into that in great depth. And what were his links with the Jewish mob? Maybe he just had a few friends who had connections, don't know. I don't even know if it's true, but it's just something that I heard. And of course the featured violinist in the Fiddler on the Roof movie. Now, what we can do, of course, at this point is turn to Rob Cowan's classical 1000 top 1000 recordings of all time, and also see what expert on the violin Henry Roth says about Isaac Stern. So here's Rob Cowan's classical 100, and I'm not covering every performance on Stern. I'm just going to pick out a few here. Page 17. Isaac Stern triple concerto. Beethoven's triple concerto. Isaac Stern listed by Rob Cowan as his definitive performance according to him. He also gets a mention here for the Max Bruch concerto, violin concerto number 1, Isaac Stern with Eugene Ormandy. Also gets a mention here of the Paul Hindemith Violin Concerto, Isaac Stern with Leonard Bernstein. And I'm sure Rob Cowan mentions him elsewhere as well. I've just pulled out just a few examples of some top or definitive recordings, performances attributed to Isaac Stern in that book. Now we turn to Henry Roth, who clearly is a big Stern fan. So there we are. I'm just going to pull out a few points here. Here's a noteworthy point that Stern has become a leading figure of violin art, superlative instrumentalist, musician, sponsor and mentor of such younger talents as Perlman, Zuckerman, Mintz and others. So he helped kickstart Perlman's career. So that's really important, isn't it? His contribution to the violin mentoring and helping bringing up up and coming talent in the violin world. Here Henry Roth says, by means of Isaac Stern's masterful use and control of vibrato, Stern's range of tonal colour surpasses that of all but a few of his colleagues. He uses vibrato not merely as a device to bewitch the ear, but as a means of instilling maximal diversity in his interpretations. That's wonderful endorsement, isn't it? A small point about his violins. Clearly he was a Guarnerius del Gesù player, just like Heifetz and others, Ricci. Yeah, it's a very long chapter, but here Roth gives his verdict on some of the quality performances of Isaac Stern, and he mentions the Brahms with the Joachim cadenza. Okay, he's performed with Zubin Mehta. Tchaikovsky, that's one I like. That's one of my favourites, is his Tchaikovsky. Mendelssohn Concerto, Mozart No. 5. And he says here that Stern's early recording of Wieniawski's Concerto No. 2 in D minor is second only to that of Heifetz. Wow, that must be some performance, and I would like to remind myself of that one sometime soon. Trouble is, I'm a bit slanted to Heifetz when it comes to that. But it's good to hear some other versions, isn't it? Criticisms notwithstanding, when future histories of violin art are written, Stern will certainly be honoured as supremely gifted, impulsive, invigorating, productive, driving, insuppressible, caring, silver-tongued, dauntless and sometimes ruthless musician activist who was also one of the most important violinists of his era. So Henry Roth really waxed lyrical on Stern. So those are my thoughts about violinist Isaac Stern, one of the great players of the 20th century, wonderful player, and enjoy his performances, listen to his recordings, because they truly are wonderful, learn a lot from them.